he created a woman he called Balo and placed her in the bilao, in the container. Balo immediately asked the woman, Ambuao is the god, why is the bilao, the container on top of my head? Ambuao answered, I am going to put many things here, not only plants but animals too. Then God or Ambuao broke his toe. From the toe of God, everything else were created. He placed it in the bilao and became a small plant, and he called the tree Kabugao. It grew into a big tree and bore flowers. So the woman, Balo, saw the flowers of the tree and they were so beautiful. She thought and wondered if they could be eaten. So those are flowers growing in the Philippines also. These are our forests. This is our forest. So she asked Ambuao or God what the name of the tree was. He answered, Kabugao is the name of the tree. And also, God Ambuao also said, you have to take care of it, don't destroy it or cut it, because it is from here that you will get your food, said Ambuao. So you see the relationship of nature and environment with the subsistence and the survival of the people. As time passed on, more and more flowers bloomed from the tree. Only Balo, or the woman, went for a walk and came to the tree. One day, Balo went for a walk and came to the tree. She saw that many flowers had fallen to the ground. She noticed that flowers on the ground were moving, and that half of the flower was like a worm. From the flower becomes a worm, and the other half remained flower. Then the worm grew bigger and bigger until half of it became a human person. So that's the creation story for the indigenous peoples in our place. And the woman asked, Ambuao, what is this person, half of which is a worm, and I'm afraid of him? And God said, do not be afraid. I will make him a real person, and he will be your companion, a helper to whatever you do. After Ambuao had spoken, the worm became a human person. He was a man. So it was Genesis in reverse. Woman first, then came the man. And he was a man, and Balo was happy because now she has a playmate and a companion. If we can really try to reflect on this story, we can see that among indigenous peoples, for them, the whole ecosystem dynamics involves a process of perfecting an ideal harmony among the important components of the cosmos: natural, social, and environment, the realm of the spirits and the community, the God creator, and the cultivation of the earth. All aspects of life are one integrated reality. For the indigenous peoples, this is their spiritual, ecological spirituality. The land and everything on earth is permeated with the presence of the spirit. You cannot have this dichotomy between the material and the spiritual, the physical and the ethereal. They go beyond the dichotomy of the profane and the sacred, the visible and the invisible. Reality is both seen and unseen, and they are both interconnected, and you can find that in this story. The so-called profane and the sacred interface. So for the indigenous peoples in our place and in many other places as well, the story of creation recreates their original oneness with the world, with their God, and with their forefathers. This provides an ideal paradigm to define the healthy relationship between us and the environment. And this is a workable paradigm in establishing our sacred relationship to the land, to the environment, to the ecosystems, to the entire biodiversity. I have this paper written for academic purposes, Socio-Ecological Alienation and Market Economy, trying to evaluate how the ecological spirituality of the indigenous peoples relates or contradicts with the mining operation. This is very much far apart. I mean, the concept of owning the land and trying to destroy it for the sake of profit and with their own integral kind of spirituality. For the indigenous people, their essential domains consist not only of the physical environment. Land is intrinsically related to the survival of their lives, to their cultural identity, and the experience of the sacred in their own traditional spirituality. But for the mining companies, it's very much more into commodification of the lands. The land and the ecosystems have a price. So they can do anything as long as they can get profit from that. It's totally very, very far from the consciousness of the indigenous peoples. For the companies, only purely economic valuation is at work. which is very much totally incompatible to the indigenous values. Primarily because for indigenous peoples, land cannot be sold, cannot be owned. It cannot be destroyed. It's where the spirit lives. So when the national government and corporations talk about development, they really equate it with monetary gains, quantifying it in terms of acquisition of visible material comforts and benefits. However, development and measured within the framework of the indigenous people's perspective is wider and more inclusive. Development must consider in its purview the general well-being of the community, healthy social interaction that should be enjoyed by all, not just by some. And this should entail preserving social harmony and their collective cultural identity as a people. And we have this partly reflected in the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment in 2005. Development is not just growth. Development is not just money. Development is the promotion of the human and ecosystem's well-being. And this is precisely the framework of the indigenous people's spirituality. We see that also in other researches, like in Dipanarayan's Voices of the Poor, saying that poverty is not measured only in terms of monetized equivalent, but in terms of total well-being of the people and the community. And another one in the only country in the world which measure not economic development not in GNP but in gross national happiness. He's saying that non-material conditions must also be considered as one important component of.
We're actually going to go till 12:30 now, so how much longer?
Okay. Now, we go on with the situation in the Philippines with the indigenous people's lands and mining corporations getting into conflict because of really different perspectives that they have. One very much consumerist, and the other one being too deeply spiritually connected in the land. We have the situation here about the whole mining situations in the Philippines in general, and only about indigenous peoples. Those who are interested can get one after the session. So, in the Philippines, there are around 12 to 20 million indigenous peoples. They're scattered all over the archipelago. That's the map of the Philippines. And then we have a law protecting the indigenous peoples, by the way. We have the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act. And this was passed in 1997. And we know that even internationally, the rights of the indigenous peoples for self-determination is recognized by many UN mechanisms and other conventions, as well as the recently passed United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Indigenous Peoples, which the Canadian government did not endorse. So in the Philippines, there's a big problem because 72% of mining activities are happening within the indigenous people's lands. And we see the destruction really continually happening. That's why the indigenous peoples are protesting. This is in the land of the indigenous peoples. They posted this. Our ancestral domain is important and sacred. It should not be destroyed by anyone. We do not permit it to be mined by this company. Crew is originally Canadian. It was sold to Intex now. It's Norwegian. And there are other human rights violations. For example, houses of the indigenous peoples are destroyed in order to give way to the mining company. And in fact, the Philippine government already decided, the Commission on Human Rights already have this pronouncement that the mining company is violating the rights of the indigenous peoples. Oceana Gold, by the way, is Australian and from New Zealand, but it's being financed by Canadian money. There's another one, Altai Resources. This is a junior Canadian mining company, mining the biodiversity-rich province in Romblon. In 2007, a mining activist was killed, shot by the guard of the mining company. And these instances of human rights violations are happening everywhere. Like also in Mount Kanatuan, this is another Canadian company, Toronto Ventures. there's a complaint before the UN search, so I do not anymore to be able to discuss that anymore. But recently, only last month, March 6, 2001, there's another anti-mining activist who was killed. He was shot 4 times by the guard of the Toronto Ventures Incorporated inside the mining company. You know the reason why? This person, Rudy Segovia, was actually just asking the company to have water sprinkled in the land because there are so much dust in their community. So that's for that simple request, he was shot. So this is a Canadian company, Toronto Ventures. And many other human rights violations as well among the Indigenous peoples. That's why this is a very clear call coming from the Indigenous peoples that they need to assert their right to self-determination. And Canadian companies, they will not allow them to make business at the expense of the future generation. We go on to the extent of doing hunger strike in order to stop mining companies from operating in Indigenous people's lands. So people sometimes really risk their lives in order to continue on this struggle. And this struggle is not just political or economic. It's more common. The struggle is for the tribe as a living entity and central to their culture as an arena for struggle, their assertion for their cultural and spiritual integrity. So as I end, I ask you to join me in prayer of blessings for the Indigenous people's prayer. I add my breath to your breath, that our days may be long on the earth, that the days of our people may be long, that we shall be as one person, that we may finish our road together. That's all. Thank you.